Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Fall Discover Day. We're excited to talk with you about on-campus housing. My name is Christy Hipp, and I am the Assistant Director for Licensing and Marketing. Also here with me today is Malik Ismail, our Director of Housing and Residential Education. We'll both be standing by to answer any questions you have during and after the presentation. Feel free to send questions in the chat or hang around after the presentation for a live question and answer session. If you're interested in living on campus, you'll need to submit an application on our website. While we don't have a firm launch date for new student applications, they typically open in mid-February. The earlier you apply, the more likely that you'll be able to secure your first choice in space. Spaces do fill up quickly, so we recommend submitting your application as soon as you've submitted your intent to enroll. We have two different communities for students to choose from while living on campus. We'll talk a little bit about both. Before we get into specific communities, it's important to note that both communities offer very similar staffing structures, amenities, and experiences. Both communities offer fully furnished apartment-style housing. Both are gated communities, and both have staff on site 24 hours a day and 7 days a week for whatever you might need. The Quad is a modern, spacious apartment community with an off-campus vibe located in the heart of North City. This includes walkable access to shopping, dining, and the new extended learning building, and of course, to campus. The Quad also offers a pool, a fitness center, and many study spaces for students to utilize. The Quad has 10 different floor plans to choose from, with apartments that can house anywhere from 2 to 8 students. The University Village apartments, affectionately known as the UVA, are recently renovated apartments that are conveniently located on campus. These apartments hold smaller groups of 4 to 6 students and also offers a small number of studio apartments. The UVA also offers a pool, spin room, elliptical room, fire pit, and basketball court. There have been studies done which show that students who live on campus are more successful in their academics, are more likely to graduate in 4 years, and are more satisfied with their experience. While both the Quad and the UVA offer a great experience, we wanted to touch more on some of the amenities offered by our communities. All of our students sign individual license agreements, meaning that they are not responsible for their roommates' payments if they move out, in the same way that you might be in an off-campus apartment. Additionally, we have both student staff and professional staff available for after-hours response, whether it's a maintenance issue or a student crisis. Safety is also a priority for us. All of our communities are gated, and students must have a key to gain access to our communities. You can find more information about our amenities and both of our communities on our website. When you apply for housing, you'll be asked to choose a floor plan. While you can view layouts and floor plans on our website, the biggest decision you'll need to make is whether you'd like your own room or to share with other students. Floor plans determine how many other students you'll share your apartment with, and your bed space type indicates whether you'll share your actual bedroom with another student. Floor plans fill up fast, particularly at the Quad, and some of them come in very limited numbers. So we recommend signing your license agreement as soon as possible to reserve your space. We are still finalizing housing costs for the 2021-2022 academic year, and things are a little different this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, in previous years, rates ranged from $1,016 to $1,815 per installment. Students are charged in 8 installments each academic year, beginning in August and ending in April. And it's important to note that we do not charge installments in December or in May. This year, we moved housing charges to students' My CSUSM accounts, which allowed financial aid to be automatically applied to housing costs when available, and made things much more convenient for our students. After you've signed your license agreement, our staff will add you to a platform called My College Roomie. You'll sign up and complete a questionnaire, and then you'll be able to match with other students who submitted similar answers as you. Our staff has designed this questionnaire to help avoid some of the issues normally experienced when living with roommates. It's important to note that while we do everything we can't always guarantee that students will be placed with their requested roommate. For this reason, we recommend against buying any supplies together until your roommate placement is confirmed by our office. This year, we're offering a voluntary meal plan for our students who want to do less cooking, but all of our apartments do come with a full kitchen. We were planning to open a dining hall in the fall of 2020, which would have also come with a meal plan requirement for all students living on campus. And it's possible that this will happen in fall of 2021, but we're still finalizing those plans. If you're interested, go ahead and submit a housing application and we'll be happy to keep you posted as plans are finalized. As we mentioned when discussing amenities, we have student staff and professional staff living on campus to support our students at any time of the day or night. Our team is dedicated to helping our students succeed and making sure that all of our residents have a safe, engaging, and positive experience during their time on campus. While we can't cover all of the amazing aspects of on-campus housing during this brief presentation, we're happy to answer any questions, and we encourage you to check out our website for more information. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We're so excited to welcome you home, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. You can view it on our Instagram page at CSUSM Housing. If you're interested. So someone asked if there's an age limit to live on campus. We do not have an age limit. The only requirement to be eligible to live on campus with us is that you have to be enrolled in 6.1 or more credit hours per semester. So we'll be open for fall 21. We're also taking applications for spring 2021. We'll begin licensing students for the spring probably in mid-November. And then applications for next fall typically open in the middle of February. So both of our communities offer very similar experiences. The biggest difference is location. So the UVA is located directly on campus, and then the quad is just across the street. They have a little bit different options in terms of floor plans and layouts. And so the quad has a little bit bigger variety in terms of the style of apartments that we offer and like the number of students that they can accommodate, but both are fully apartment style. So they have full kitchens. And then, you know, it's not like traditional style where there's a bathroom down the hallway. There's bathrooms directly in the apartment and all of those types of things. But both have, you know, they're managed by the same people. They have similar staffing structures and the costs are very similar between both the quad and the UVA. Yes, so that is actually run by our partners in campus dining, but there are meal plans available for purchase both for students living on and off campus. Yes, so all of our amenities are open to any students who live on campus. If you are wanting to use facilities that are not at the property where you live, you may need help gaining access to the community, which you, during office hours, any of our staff would be happy to let you in. And then if there's ever, for example, like a program going on after hours, maybe run by one of our resident assistants, they typically will have someone standing by to help people gain access to the community and make sure that students are able to access those events as well. So if we're doing any events, if there's, you know, something going on, for example, in the UVA spin room, we definitely help to make sure that any student can access those. So we are admitting students for the spring into housing. Typically the way that works is that we have students who, so our license agreements are for the full academic year. So when students sign up to live on campus, they're signing up for both the fall and the spring semester. But we do have a number of students who cancel for the spring, whether because they are graduating, maybe they're an international student who is leaving the country, maybe, you know, they've decided that CSUSM isn't the place for them right now, or any number of other reasons. And so we will offer those spaces to students who are incoming for the spring. And so if you're interested in spring housing, I would recommend submitting an application in November, and we'll be reaching out to students in the middle of November to let them know what availability looks like and what type of space we're able to offer them. In terms of safety precautions and COVID-19, so all of our like high touch areas and common spaces are being sanitized twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. We are requiring masks or facial coverings on our property at all times when you're outside of your apartment, to, you know, kind of mitigate the risk of community spread. Our common spaces and our like pools and those areas are currently closed. We're working with, you know, our student health office, with local and state authorities to determine when we can safely reopen those spaces. But for now, they are closed. And then we also are not currently allowing any guests onto our communities in order to kind of minimize the risk of community spread as well. We do not designate housing for specific class years or for groups of students. We do have a few, we call them specialized housing communities. So we have an LGBTQ community for students who either identify as part of that community or identify as allies to that community, and want to live with other students who may identify similarly. We have a gender inclusive community for students who may be interested in living with students whose gender identity is not necessarily the same as theirs. And then we do also have a residential learning community, which includes a classroom component, and those students live very closely together in our communities. But other than that, like, we don't designate, you know, transfer students have to live over here, first year students live over here. That's really why we utilize our My College Roomie process. Is so that students can kind of identify, oh, this person has similar habits and enjoys similar things as me, regardless of their you know, class standing and all of those things. So we don't have a transfer community at this time, but we do definitely encourage students to utilize My College Roomie to make sure that they're being set up for success as far as their roommate experience goes. So those are both great questions. So we are doing a lot of talking right now about rates for next year, about timelines for next year, and we're still kind of finalizing all of those things. Typically, our applications for the next fall open in middle of February. And so definitely be keeping an eye on both our website and on our Instagram page, because we always announce there when we open applications for the next term. But I would say, you know, early to middle of February is probably when applications will open for next fall. We do ask that students choose to apply to either the quad or the UVA, and that just makes it a little bit easier on our team when we're processing applications, if you apply to one or the other and not to both. We are working on a quiz that you can take that will help you decide between the quad and the UVA. And so we're hoping that'll be live on our website in the next couple of weeks. So definitely keep an eye out there, and you should see more information there. And then for spring, like I said, early November, and someone from our team will follow up with you middle of November to get that license agreement signed. So for first year students, if you fall outside of what's considered our local service area, you would be required to live on campus for your first year. The local service area is determined by your high school district, and you can find a list of the local service area school districts on our website, which I believe the link to that has already been shared in the chat. There is an exemption process that you can submit if if you're not interested in living on campus. There's a few different reasons. Financial exemption, if you're going to be living with a parent or family member, or if you're an independent student, you can submit a request to be exempted from the living on campus requirement. And that is only for first-year students. So if you're a continuing student or a transfer student, you would not be required to live on campus. But there are studies that show that students who live on campus tend to be more successful academically. They tend to be more likely to graduate in 4 years and tend to be more satisfied with their experience. So if it is a feasible option for you, we definitely recommend living on campus for at least your first year, if that's possible.
Oh, Christy, when I was an undergrad, I lived on campus. It was the best experience ever, and it really helped that I didn't have to commute. So I really enjoyed that. And then also the dining hall, because I didn't have to.
Yeah, I actually, so I moved into a residence hall when I was 17, and this is actually my second year not living on campus. So I was 17. So I'm definitely a big proponent of the on-campus experience.
Yeah, great.
So when you submit your application, you'll be asked to submit a $300 administrative fee with your application. That fee helps us to process your application. It helps us with the costs of running our move-in and just, helps facilitate all of our processes that go along with processing applications. Once you sign a license agreement, that fee is no longer refundable. And so you wouldn't be refunded that fee. And then depending upon when you cancel, there may be a cancellation fee. And that fee schedule kind of depends each year, but that fee schedule would be included in your license agreement. So do make sure that you read that over before you sign your license agreement so that you kind of understand by what point you really need to make a decision about whether you'll be living on campus so that you aren't subject to one of those cancellation fees. If there are extenuating circumstances and you canceled and are charged a cancellation fee, we do also have an appeal process in place so that you can cancel and submit an appeal and say, hey, I had, a life-changing event that happened. We typically ask for some documentation to support that. And then it goes to a committee of people who review all of your documentation and your appeal form and determine whether we can waive that cancellation fee. So especially right now with everything going on, we are definitely looking at those very seriously and doing our best to support our students and figuring out when and where we're able to waive those fees. So definitely the biggest thing I would say is make sure when you get a license agreement that you very, very carefully read it over. It is kind of a lengthy document, but it's very important that you understand what you're signing because you will be held to the terms of that document. And if you're reading it over and you have questions or something looks kind of funky to you, please feel free to contact our office and we'll be happy to kind of talk through it with you before you sign it. We do typically ask that once you receive a license that those are signed and sent back to us within 72 hours, just to help us get things turned around in a timely fashion. But again, we're definitely here to help if you're reading that over and you have any of these types of questions.
Thank you, Christy. And I think that's a great rule of thumb, anything that you're signing, definitely read that over, especially, your housing contract, your loan application and promissory note. I cannot stress that enough. So definitely make sure you're reading and ask questions if you're not really sure.
So one of the great things about living on campus is that our license agreement is all inclusive. So the cost of housing includes all of your utilities. So you're not paying separate for electricity. We do also include cable. Laundry is also included in that cost. So you don't need any quarters or anything like that to do your laundry. You just have to bring your own laundry soap. And then we also have pools at both of our communities. We have fitness centers in both of our communities. Maintenance is included, so if something isn't working or there's, something breaks, you would not be billed extra. The only time we would bill is if there's like damage to an apartment at the end of the year when you move out. And so anytime anything breaks or isn't working, we have a dedicated maintenance team that would come out and take care of that for you. And then if anything happens after hours, we have both student and professional staff who live on site, who will respond to any issues after hours. So whether that's like, oh my gosh, there's water everywhere and there shouldn't be, or someone is really sick and needs medical attention after hours, we have staff on site who can assist with that as well. Mail and packages, we provide those services. So you would have a mailbox in our property, and then we'll also hold any packages in our offices for students to come and collect as well. I think those are kind of the highlights as far as amenities go. So right now, as I mentioned, there are no outside guests allowed. That does include parents and families. And so obviously, if like maybe your parents are coming to take you to dinner or something, our students are welcome to, meet them in the parking lot and then go with them somewhere or things like that. But in order to minimize the risk of any community virus spread to both our students and our staff, we are asking for no non-resident visitors in our communities. We definitely want to be able to open our communities back up as soon as possible. And so again, we're working very closely with student health and with our local and state authorities to be able to kind of open things back up as soon as we possibly can. But in the best interest of our community, that's the decision that we've made for now. Under normal circumstances, guests are definitely allowed within our communities, parents, families, friends, anything like that. What we do ask is that if you're going to have visitors overnight, that you discuss that with your roommates and make sure that that's okay with them, and have those conversations beforehand. But typically we would certainly allow guests in our communities. So our costs do range depending upon the type of space that you're signing for. And so right now things are a little bit different because we did change our room types due to social distancing requirements in the current pandemic. And so the rates for this year aren't super representative of what we would normally charge. In a typical year, costs range from just over $1,000 per installment to about $1,800 per installment. Those installments are charged once per month from August until May, with the exception that we do not charge installments in the months of December or in May. So if you look on our website, you can see what we are currently charging, with those costs being listed for the academic year. But again, we're still kind of working on costs for next academic year. And so as soon as we have those finalized, we'll be posting those on our website.
We do encourage all first-year students to apply to be RAs. We encourage them to be active in our different leadership organizations within housing, in an effort to help prepare them for the leadership role of becoming an RA. But yes, we do allow first-year students to apply and then to become RAs or resident advisors in their second year. And then compensation for the RA position is a single bed is provided along with a meal plan. So it will cover your housing and will help supplement your food costs.
Thank you. And this includes transfer students?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So our apartments are typically single sex by apartment. And so in one apartment, there may be all female students, and then next door, there may be male students. We do offer gender inclusive housing. So if you are a student who identifies as female and you want to live with a student who identifies as male, we do offer that option as long as both students opt in to that option. And then if you have a specific roommate that you want to request, Like if you have a friend from high school who's also coming to Cal State San Marcos, you can certainly do that. So once your license agreement has been fully signed by all parties, meaning that you have signed it as the student, your guarantor has signed it, and then we have countersigned it in our office, you'll be added to My College Roomie, and you can go in and request one another. Those requests do need to be mutual, so you do have to request and accept each other. And then we do everything we can to place those students together. Unfortunately, we're not able to guarantee those placements, though typically we are able to honor those requests. But just because, you know, things happen, we recommend against, for example, like buying supplies for your apartment together until your placement has been confirmed. And that usually happens about a month or so before move-in. But definitely the earlier that you can sign your license agreement and make those roommate requests, the more likely that we'll be able to honor those. So I can kind of speak to what we did this year. So we gave, when we were considering applications, we gave priority to students who were not from our local service area and who were taking in-person courses because, you know, it was determined that those were the students who were probably at higher need for on-campus housing. And so while that decision has yet to be made for next fall, and we're certainly hoping that things will be a little bit more back to normal, I would imagine that that would be how we would determine the students that we would offer housing to for next fall as well. So a guarantor is someone who, in the event that the student is not able to make their payment for housing, the guarantor is there to provide financial assistance. So it's kind of similar to a cosigner, if you're more familiar with that term. They do need to reside in the United States, and we ask that they are over the age of 25. So for most students, they'll choose to use their parents or a close family member as a guarantor. If you either don't want to or are unable to provide a guarantor, you are also able to submit a deposit in lieu of a guarantor, and that is in the amount of $1,200. And that deposit, unlike the administrative fee, is refundable once you no longer live in housing, as long as there are no damages or outstanding balances on your account.
Well, that concludes our housing portion of Discover CSUSM today.